Here we go.
Hey, thanks everyone for coming to another Rust and WebAssembly Working Group meeting. Woo! Um, so today is the day of the release for the 2018 edition Preview 2. And we've been kind of trying to set milestones for these, releases and stuff, but obviously since we're not actually shipping that much stuff in the Rust compiler itself, it's more of just a suggestion for us. But the big thing that I wanted to talk about for this meeting was planning what our kind of suggested goals for the next big release in 6 weeks. Big release, the next milestone release.
If you are typing, please mute.
Oops.
Yes. So that's 6 weeks from now is going to be the release candidate for the Rust 2018 edition. But before we dive into that, just a note on RFC triage, the WebAssembly Inheritance RFC has entered the final comment period. So if you care about these things and have opinions and such things, this is the last chance to voice your concerns. All right, so let's get into Rust 2018 triage. Or I guess just less triage and more setting goals, I think, this time around. So why don't we just start with WASM bindgen, and what do we think we can have in 6 weeks, or what should we shoot for in 6 weeks? Alex?
One thing we should definitely include is the WebSys crate should be published on crates.io.
Okay, for sure. And do we want to make that? Do we want to market that as an alpha release? Because I don't know if we do or not, or if we want to make it just a 0.1, or I guess 0.2 maybe, because we did with JSys. But I feel with JSys, it's easy to look over the bindings and verify yes, this is where we want it to be. And with WebSys, it's a little bit harder because it's all mechanically generated.
Right. This is where I want us to get to a point where we have something to announce, and it's mostly okay with some manual vetting, but the main thrust of the initial announcement I would see is let's get people using it to give us bugs, and then we fix those bugs, and then make another major release at some point. So the idea is we're going to push something out there that's probably buggy, but at least relatively complete and has lots of stuff. And then as we discover issues, we'll just make a new version bump later on.
Yeah, for sure. And huge shout out to was it Dodge and I forget the other person who've been just hammering on WebSys stuff.
Yes.
One person organized all of the issues and why we can't generate bindings for some of the interfaces, and then another just started implementing tests for everything. That's awesome. Okay, what about the WASM bindgen futures? Do you think it makes sense to also enable or also publish that?
It sort of depends. I think we'll necessitate publishing it to publish everything else, just to have it on crates.io. I don't see it currently as a major feature. I don't think we don't have a lot of stuff that's I really need async in Rust right now, and so it's ready-ish to publish, and I'm not too worried about it. So I would consider it a sub goal of if the need arises, we can pick it up, but otherwise it's just kind of there for implementation purposes.
And what about WASM bindgen test?
That one, so that's something more on the WASM pack side of things. I would say for the release candidate, the WASM pack CLI that we were previously talking about, that should probably be fully fleshed out and everything. So that is mostly intended to just be an implementation detail of that. But to that end, I do think that we want it relatively finished or relatively complete. At least available on crates.io. So if I want to, our testing story should be set by the release candidate saying that we have instructions for how to do it. It's relatively ergonomic, and everything's kind of all set up for you.
Right. I mean, I think it's, I don't know, I guess that sounds very lofty to me. It sounds reasonable to me to get a initial kind of thing out the door, like kind of like a beta status or something, but like maybe that's what you're thinking too.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm basically thinking what we have literally right now. We'll just wrap it up in WasmPack and call it a day. And then, like, that would, it's a good point, though. Like, it would be very similar to the WebSys, where the idea is, like, we're publishing this. It's probably got, like, weird compatibility stuff that we're going to change because we discover bugs, but, like, we want more people to know about it and start using it.
I also think it's fine. Like, in WasmPack, we already have commands that have, like, kind of like test implementations in there, like not polished, but because it's an interface that we expect that WasmPack will always give you, and just we're going to polish it up under the hood. I think that's fine. Like right now, like WasmPack pack and publish both just wrap npm, which is like not ideal. But we know that those things will exist. It's just like in the future we'll make them a lot nicer. And I think it's a good way to get people actually using it, because there's always that trade-off between when do we release versus when do we know it's okay to release, and that usually depends on feedback.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think feedback in particular is something that we definitely need. Yeah.
And the other nice thing about that is, like, I mean, I also have thought about, like, we've talked about WasmPack test also including running npm test if you have test declared in your package JSON. So like we could also just release a WasmPack with WasmPack test that just wraps npm test for now, and then say we're gonna like soup it up later.
Okay, so I'm gonna add, although I don't want to finish with WasmBindgen quite yet, I'm gonna just add a note for WasmPack test below this.
Yeah, I just jumped in because it seemed heavily related to WasmPack.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm just very comfortable with that. So.
So the last thing regarding WasmBindgen that I thought would be nice to shoot for release candidate would be like an overhaul of the documentation. And I'm interested in like your guys' thoughts on this. I feel like a lot of the documentation right now is like very much prose and like kind of like almost like more tutorial-y, where it's kind of just like going through and like this is what happens and then this and that, and like that's really good, but like often the way that I come at specifically WasmBindgen documentation is like I want to look up exactly like what is the thing, like what does this attribute do when I apply it to this struct or onto this function, right? And I'm not like coming to like read the whole docs. I'm coming for like reference material, like as an index for one thing. And like I think I would like to kind of like create two sections of the documentation, ignoring the contributing sections, which is like a completely different thing, but like for like user facing stuff. And I'd like to like kind of like package up all the prose stuff into like one section, and then take our existing kind of reference stuff and like really clean it up to be like bullet points and like very like skimmable and like control F-able and like that kind of stuff. Like what is your guys' take on that?
Extremely on that team.
Yeah.
I make a joke about writing docs where it's like, to write docs, you make a bulleted list and then you translate it into a paragraph so the person reading it can translate it into a bulleted list in their head.
Yeah,
People just
totally.
like reading lists. Like there's a reason listicles are so freaking popular. I know at least for WasmBindgen, the primary questions that I've gotten from it when I present on it are just like so to a certain extent, Bindgen is a translation tool. So I want to be able to look up one thing either on the Rust side or the JavaScript side and find out what the other thing is. Like what's it get turned into, or what's this get turned into. And so I've been using the test suite a lot for that. So I think that there's a chance that a lot of the work that we would need to do could start with just like the test suite, and maybe go from there, just being like, what is this turned into? Like what's a structure?
Yeah, for sure. The tests and examples and stuff are really good for that kind of thing, but like I think we can improve it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I guess I was just saying, like, as a starting point, this is what I'm using in the absence of what you're suggesting.
Yeah, I'm agreeing. Yeah.
Okay. file an agreement.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else about WasmBindGen and release candidate?
This may have happened already, or maybe not, but Alex, did you get the releases thing fixed? That's already landed?
Yeah, they're all good to go.
Okay, cool. Just because for the installing, we have anyways. Good.
This is the pre-built binaries for faster installs. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So one other minor thing that I've been dabbling at has been performance, in the sense that I've been using, like, WasmBindGen has looked a lot slower than I thought it was going to be. It should be like blazingly fast, but it seems to be kind of lagging in a lot of cases. And so some of that is, it doesn't seem to be a pervasive problem just yet. So I guess this is, in terms of performance, I don't think we necessarily need to do much for the release candidate, but if people could keep an eye out for that, or this tool should execute in milliseconds as opposed to seconds. And so if it ever happens, like, that's a bug, and we need to at least know it and identify it.
I think one thing that WasmPack can do is time how long each step takes, in addition to how long the entire thing takes, and that's going to be a great way to keep track of that for you. Because, I mean, I think one of the big things that we're doing for this kind of like UX overhaul is, the goal is to make it faster, and we don't have a bench right now, but we should, and we can bench the steps. So
yeah, like having WasmPack time all of the sub steps is like such a good way to help us like stay accountable.
Yeah, we should definitely do that. I mean, it already times the entire thing, so I don't think it's that hard to time up each step.
Yeah.
They're already, like, those abstractions exist already.
and so we are specifically, when you bring up performance, Alex, we're specifically talking about the performance of the tool, the CLI tool.
Yes, the runtime code is all like actual, like, Rust-C style business. This is specifically how long it takes WasmBindGen itself to run as part of your build process.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I'd be interested in like digging into like where time is going in general, and like if it's at all in like interpreting in WasmI, but like this is not the time to do that. So
yeah.
Okay. Ashley, do you want to talk about WasmPack goals for release candidate?
Yeah. So 6 weeks is like both a long time and not a lot of time. I think the next two releases that we have planned for WasmPack are pretty well defined right now, and probably will ship in, like, both of them will be within the time frame of like 3 to 4 weeks. And so 6 weeks puts us on like the edge of like whatever a 0.7 would be, I think. And I guess I'm not really entirely sure where I think we want to go. One thing that I do know that we need to sort at some point is the NPM dependency stuff. But I think that might be, I don't know if that's good for 6 weeks from now.
So just to refresh my memory, the 060 milestone is after we've done the build stuff, and it's WasmOpt, WasmSnip, cargo toml, rebuild modes.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's like the really big thing, and I could imagine, based on how other like larger releases of WasmPack have gone, that a 0.7 will just be clean that up and make it even better.
Here's the things we figured out.
To be honest, because like we're also doing that thing where it's like we got to get feedback, so ship it, and then people will tell you it didn't work. And so, in the sake of, if we want to be really conservative, I think like the thing for release candidate is like polished build integration stuff. Build integration means something else there, but like the 3 builds things. Maybe we could add to that, like, to make it like more fun, like benching.
How does this sound? Like a small 070 release that polishes 060, essentially? Yeah.
I mean, that's my guess. I mean, maybe we're going to release 060 and it will be perfect. I don't imagine that's going to be the case. But 070 probably will include like better docs and stuff too. I mean, I want to release with good docs, but we won't know what the questions people have.
All right.
Yeah, the next big feature after that I can think of is NPM dependencies, and I just don't think that we can do that in 6 weeks with all the other stuff we wanted to.
Okay.
Unless there's like a big hole in this that I'm not thinking of, which is totally possible.
Yeah. I mean, it's also possible that like maybe we just like blaze through this faster than we thought, and it's like, oh, like we have time to start like laying the groundwork for NPM dependencies. Or there's always also the other possibility, which is like, oh, like 060 is a lot more work than like we thought it would be, and like spend our time on that. And
yeah,
either way, it's fine.
Anyways, I think for release candidate, having like the features that get released in 060 be really good, usable, and things that we want to shout from the rooftops, that would be great.
Okay.
I'm going to be with the WASM workshop at RustConf. I'm going to be basically using the stuff that is in 060 with the goal that, I don't know, I released some version of WASM literally in a tutorial that I taught it in. I think I announced one. So releasing it in another workshop seems about right.
Yeah, just start the workshop with like publish.
That's what I did in Norway. It was it was stressful.
Nice. Yeah, by the way, let's maybe talk outside of this meeting about like if there's anything I can do to support the Rust and WebAssembly workshop for RustConf.
Oh, totally.
Or anything.
But like, if we want to have like a side meeting about that, I'm happy, like anybody who's interested, please.
Yeah. Yeah, so it seems like there's potentially many people who can be like helpers going around the class and stuff, but also don't want to like step on your toes. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically going to be a game of life tutorial, but instead of using each tool individually, you're using WASM, which is like the book that doesn't exist yet, but is also how I know I'm going to hit the deadline for 0.6 because I have to.
Nice. So that's actually a good segue into talking about the book goals for release candidate. And so unfortunately, I don't know if...
Before we get there, actually brought up a really good point about kind of NPM and JS dependencies and WASM. Wait, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
You cut out for me. I don't know.
Oh.
Anyway.
I could hear you fine.
JS and local and NPM dependencies, we don't have a great story for that by now, and so I would say that maybe not a fully finished story, but we should have at least like an accepted RFC design by the time of the next release candidate. Like we should have a much clearer vision of where we're going in both of these areas. And that could, I mean, this isn't really WASM Bindgen or WASM Packet. I mean, it'll be whatever it needs to be, but just something around that is something I do think we should have as.
Yeah, and to the extent that we can clean up any of the like spikes we did on that in WASM Bindgen, only because I know like Sven, for example, was like super confused and thought that was like supposed to be a full-fledged feature that worked, and like definitely doesn't. And so I was like, oh no, did I miss something?
Yeah.
Sorry, what do you mean by spikes?
Well, so we originally started talking about NPM dependency support, like, I don't even know at this point, like 3-4 months ago, Alex.
Yeah.
Like a long freaking time ago. And there was like an initial push to annotate dependencies and external JavaScript using module in the WASM Bindgen attribute in code. And then we had a bunch of conversations where people were like, I really don't like this. This is bad. And we're like, oh no. And then we had a bunch of conversations, talked with Luke, talked to a bunch of people, and we're like, oh, this is a tricky problem. And we talked about using cargo toml, but that would like kind of not be friendly to C and C++ folks. And so we settled that we needed to do an RFC, but the code for, like when I say a spike, it's like the code for the initial idea still exists in WASM Bindgen, at least as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a question of whether or not that's like real or not, or if it even works. Like I know at one point that NPM dependency stuff did work, but then we decided that that's not how we wanted to do it. So I don't know.
Okay, I got you. So I just added like RFC for all that stuff as kind of like a top level release candidate goal. We can probably figure out who wants to be on the hook for that a little bit later.
I have like half of one started if someone wants to carry it over the finish line.
Cool. All right, so for the book, it's a little unfortunate Gatosi isn't here. I don't know if everyone saw, but he said that he had a conflicting meeting. And I think, in my mind, like a good goal for release candidate for the book would be to integrate like the templates that we've been building and WASM-Pack workflow, which is, so it's something we've been talking about for a long time. And I think it's like time that we actually give it a deadline so that it happens.
Well, as I said before, at least it is definitely happening for RustConf workshop
right.
day.
So is that, like, are you planning on updating the book too with that, or just like having
I want to teach from
thing?
the book.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So
And that's going to involve pulling Steve in too, because I'm teaching it with Steve. So a couple extra hands.
Cool.
But I've been working relatively hard on getting the templates going. So that's why, like, the PR to pull Hello World WASM-Pack out of the book repo and into the WASM-Pack repo has taken a second, because I've also basically audited the entire Hello World and replaced all of the stuff with the template work. So it's taking a small bit of time, but when it lands, it like shouldn't need to be that cleaned up. And then from there, turning my attention to the game of life. Though if anybody else wants to like start on that, that would be delightful.
So I did have a question about like kind of which route to take for the templates and WASM-Pack integration in the book. So like the way that the WASM-Pack tutorial and workshop works right now is like you write some Rust and then you publish it to NPM, and then you write some JS that like pulls down that code from NPM.
Right.
And I guess so one possibility is to do that same thing with the game of life, right? Is like write a game of life implementation in Rust and then publish it to NPM as WASM, and then like write JavaScript that pulls it down. And then another like way to do it would be to use the Rust Webpack template and like kind of develop the Rust and the JavaScript together, and then like kind of and use like WASM-Pack to build. And then at the end, kind of just be like, oh, and also we can publish to NPM. And I don't know, I wasn't.
I think option one sounds a little bit more like a real workflow.
Yeah.
The only thing for me is option one makes it that we have to use Webpack. Like the reason I like option two, oh wait, option one was just use the original tutorial.
No. Okay. So there's basically it's are we going to use the Rust Webpack template, or are we going to use WASM-Pack template and create WASM app? Right. Because like one is like write all the Rust first and then publish it and then write all the JavaScript kind of, or like have multiple publishing or use npm link or something. And then the other is kind of like do it together back and forth, or at least it makes that a little more possible, I think.
Yeah, I think my anticipation was to use npm link, but that's just because that's what my. It's funny when you talk about like that sounds like more of a real workflow. It's like it depends who you ask, like which workflow is real. I have not used any of the Rust loader stuff yet.
Yeah.
So maybe that is a better experience. I just haven't used it
yet. I think it makes sense to mimic what the WASM-Pack tutorial and workflow have been doing.
I mean, we can show both, like that they are not really, like, especially if you consider using npm link, they're really not that different.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like it definitely makes sense to have like whichever one we choose to have the other one as like an appendix kind of thing, just to like be like, here's how it would work. But like I really want the game of life tutorial itself to be like not necessarily like opinionated, but not to distract with like all the different options, because it's like there's always another option, another way of doing something, and we want to like help people get on like a really good fast path. And so like with that in mind, I think it makes sense to do the WASM Pack workshop workflow, because I think that's we want people to be comfortable with WASM Pack, and that makes you more comfortable with WASM Pack and like gets you onto our fast path. But this is also, I guess, something we can take offline as well.
I just saw Sindil unmute, so I assumed that he was about to say something.
Okay, so I have some idea here, probably. Okay, since you have said we can take it offline, we can take it offline, but just to put out my idea here. It's based on the website experience that I'm doing there. Basically, we're trying to say people that it's interoperable with JavaScript, which means you can use it with JavaScript. So why can't we have our example also portray the same thing? Like take any JavaScript library that is available, pinpoint one area where it's having low performance, and use that, change that with Rust, and then use that implementation, and then use WASM Pack to publish it. Which means it also shows people that you can do this stuff, and it also aligns with the vision or something that we have with the website.
I think that'd be great, but that's a new tutorial that we don't have yet, and we have 2 weeks.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Like just for my workshop, it's on like the 16th of August, and so I probably don't have time to find a library that has a hotspot to rewrite it.
Okay, I'm muting back.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's a good idea. I actually have a pretty good library where that might work well, which is the Markdown parser for NPM, Marky Markdown. It has some native dependencies, aka Oniguruma. And people have already taken Oniguruma and like compiled it to WASM and like replaced and stuff. I'm not saying that we teach people to rewrite Oniguruma, but I think that there's maybe something we can just like find some low-key parser in JavaScript and like replace a little bit of it.
Yeah, I think this is also a really good thing for like using as case studies. Like if people want to do this kind of on their own, of course, with like, you know, the cooperation of the maintainers who are interested and not just like, you know, trying to go in and being like, hey, we're replacing your shit with Rust. Like, that's not a good look. But like with cooperation and then be like, you know, here's this whole story and like, here's benchmarks or whatever, right? And like, then that's great material to have for the website and probably from our book too, to point to like, here are like success stories of using Rust and WASM. Yeah, so just like another additional way that could be useful.
Last I checked, I thought that there was something like that going on in Webpack. Like part of Webpack was supposed to be getting replaced with Rust-generated WASM. I have no idea what the status is on that. But like last time I talked to Larkin, he alluded to this being a thing. So
yeah, there are people who are doing as part of Google Summer of Code, and they're making a progress in it, but I'm not too sure whether it's completed or not. It's not completed yet. And they're making it kind of like, I've tried with using Neon, changing certain parts of Webpack with Neon library, but I was not successful with that.
if you were compiling to WASM though, why would you need Neon?
No, I'm not compiling. It's even before WASM. Like I was trying to do that stuff, but now people are taking that implementation and then trying to do it with Rust and WASM stuff, but it's not quite done yet. So I've been talking with that guy who's doing it, but it's not quite done yet.
All right.
Okay. All right, so I think that's it for the book. Did anyone have anything else, any other goals for the book for release candidate?
Sorry. The one thing that I was thinking of in adding the book to WASM Pack is that a couple of people have mentioned to me, and that this is kind of, I don't know, probably JavaScript culture seeping in, but having a little landing page for the tools can be really nice. And so because I'm already going to be auto deploying to GH pages, instead of just having the landing page be like the first page of the book, I thought about maybe making like one HTML page that's like, this is the tool, this is its GitHub repo, read the docs, or, you know, something like that. And so I don't know if we think that's a good idea or if that's useful, or if we think maybe we want to do this for some of the other tools. I have no idea, but it's just one kind of doxy thing I was thinking about.
To kind of like make it look professional, throw like Bootstrap on it and stuff like that.
Exactly. I use skeleton, but yeah, basically same
Okay.
idea.
Yeah.
Just
People
like
have moved
some
on.
little landing page that's like, this is this thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what people's thoughts are on that. I feel like every JavaScript library has that before it even has functionality. So if we do want to advertise to JavaScript developers, it might be helpful.
Yeah. I guess like, is it a thing where like people won't take us seriously if we don't have that?
I don't know. There's probably a joke there somewhere. I'm literally not sure, but I know a lot of people have asked about like some landing page or something.
I think that this makes sense in terms of like there's not really any skin off our back. Probably be pretty simple, and it's going to be very easy to link to like more in-depth documentation. And I think so. Like this makes total sense for something like WebAssembly. I would probably say not WebAssembly because we don't actually want anyone to look at that. We want everyone to look at WebAssembly instead. And that should be. I mean, I probably wouldn't prioritize this per se, but it's certainly not a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, I figured I already made all the art assets when I wrote the hacks blog, anyways. And then kind of to a certain extent, since I know I owe you that vision post, it'd be a good place to put that content, get some mileage out of it.
I wonder if this would be like a good goal for the final milestone for 2018, because like, you know, if we're going to have like a nice like landing website, like we would definitely want it by then. But I'm also sort of feeling like we have a lot, pardon me, we have a lot of stuff going on so far, at least for this release candidate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not talking about like doing it right away. Like my thought was when I push the book, should the book actually just have an index.html that links to the book that has Ferris wearing the construction cap with like the words WASMPack and a link that says read the docs and nothing more, like literally 3 tags.
Oh. Yeah, well, if that's all you're thinking, for sure. Yeah, I was imagining.
And then
like,
somebody else, like if there's people who have better ideas on what to put there, but
yeah,
just landing on just a GitHub pages like MD book, it feels weird to me. It feels like someone ripped the cover off a book. I'm like, where's the cover?
yeah, I feel that. Or like maybe, yeah, okay.
Anyways, not a priority, just something I was thinking about.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that covers book. For templates, do we want any like goals specific to templates other than like integrating into the book and like general polish that like actually trying to use them is gonna kind of uncover the need for?
One thing that I think would be really helpful and kind of comes back to the like discoverability little website shenanigans thing is with Cargo Generate, I've started an MD file that just lists the templates out. So we should put links to all of our templates in there so people know that they exist. But I don't think linking from our page on the Rust website that like these are the templates, like linking directly to a template, I don't think makes sense. But having some sort of landing page for we made you some templates is cool. Like I don't like we already have so many projects in the Rust WASM org that like being like search for the word template on the org page is like not
like or the word create because some of them are NPM templates.
Right, exactly. So trying to index that in a way that makes it easier for people to find, I think is the only like official like item I would add to what you said. Otherwise, I think you were on point.
Do you think that the book is the place to add these? Because right now in the book we have like this tools section, which like I also really want to clean up. But like I don't think tools is exactly right here, but like some sort of like, you know, scaffolding or like kickstarting or I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm speaking like kind of from like my learning style, which is like very book averse actually. Like usually I'm like, I want to start a project and like I do not want to have to read any paragraphs to know how to start. So if there was like something that just said, use these templates to get started, and it was just like a bulleted list where there was like 4 links or whatever, my brain would be really happy with that. I think that a lot of people will discover the templates by reading the book and the tutorials, and I think that's good. But I think also, like, I could imagine a world where people are like, I want to get started, and then like I would just be like, look, we have templates, and just like send them a link, and they'd be like, oh, great. And like the templates can also link back to the books. So
is there, like, just devil's advocate, is there a reason why this like nice bulleted thing couldn't just be like a page in the appendix of the Rust WASM book?
The only reason I say that is because like Ashley would never look in the appendix of a book for that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I would want to see a list that's like, we've got tools, like WASMpack, Twiggy, all of that. We've got templates, link to the templates. We've got books. And then, like, those are the things we have.
Is this
We don't have to agree with
something
this
for, like, the website or something, then?
Maybe this is a good reason to have a website.
Okay. All right. Well, I just put discoverability for templates.
Yeah. I mean, there's also like a larger question of how we do discoverability across the ecosystem for these things. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, one other thing for templates, and this is also like kind of like a larger question too, but we should have a way to test them, like CI them somehow. Like right now, I'm basically going to be testing the WASMpack template using the CI on WASMpack, the repo, which is kind of gross. I think how we test templates is just gross right now, but I would want to make sure, because those things are going to be a maintenance burden really quickly if we don't have a way of surfacing that they're broken.
So I have a couple thoughts on this. One is, I think all of our templates should be using Dependabot, which there's questions of like how to do that with cargo generate style templates. But like for the NPM and init templates, I think it's pretty straightforward to use Dependabot.
I would recommend for the NPM stuff to use, I mean, I guess we could use Dependabot. I'd use Greenkeeper.
Okay. Either way,
they might do the same. Just
like, yeah, the point is like manually bumping dependencies is like a large part of the maintenance burden, I think. And especially for these projects that are like not actually really using that much, it should be pretty easy to like automatically keep them up to date. And yeah, and then CI, that's a great point. Thanks for bringing that up. Anything else on templates?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I guess there's the contribute, if there's features in cargo generate that we want, like I think we could say for like release candidate is like get those features over the hump, or at least file those issues. This is me awkwardly trying to like push both of my projects at the same time and like come up with, but yeah, in the interest of getting cargo generate to a spot for RC, I want to make sure that it's not holding stuff back.
Okay. For bundlers, Sven, do you have any idea of what could be good for 6-week milestones in the bundler area?
Not really, but I'm just testing the Rust Webpack templates, and it seems that it's not as smooth as it could be.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I will do a PR, so it's fine.
Okay, so polish for existing templates, some of which we expect to come from integrating book and stuff like that, others from just manually. And what do you think about aiming for a parcel template as well, as a way to kind of like a little bit of a forcing function on like figuring out bundler integration outside of Webpack?
Yeah. I don't really know the status of Wasm and Parser, to be honest. So I don't really know.
So Ashley?
I was just gonna say, there's like an outstanding, like, would be great if someone wanted to pick up, just for the Hello World WASM pack. To right now, we have a section that makes it like has it consumed using Webpack, but there's like zero reason why we can't have this equally similar chapter that's about consuming it with Parcel. And so that's something that's on my plate that like does not need to be on my particular plate if anybody wants to do that. And the cool thing, I guess, about NPM init create packages or whatever is we could script it so that we could run it and people could pick which bundler they wanted to use, and it would just scaffold which bundler that they needed. And so if someone just wanted to take like a little bit of time and just rewrite this one chapter using Parcel instead of Webpack, I think that would make it go really far. And ostensibly because they're NPM packages, like it shouldn't be really any different than like the Parcel tutorial.
Yeah.
That already exists. Like it should be really close.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, it's just a matter of getting someone to do it.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that like I can pick up probably if it kind of is just sitting there, or like what would be super awesome would be if we could ping the people we know at Parcel, and
I don't think they want to do it. I mean, we had that call with the Parcel folks, and I was like, do you think someone would be interested in joining our team? And I can follow up with Jamie to see if they had that conversation or if anything came of it. But my bet is no.
Yeah.
Which is kind of poopy, but I can't be like, do free work for me. Like,
yeah.
There's not really a lot of option there.
Sometimes like just like reaching out once more, like could do the trick. And I guess like, yeah, I guess I would say like let's try reaching out once more, and if it works, great. If not, then we can.
Yeah, I mean, Jamie made a example repo for us so that we can then write those docs. So I know that he already did do some work for us. It's just a matter of someone taking the work that he's done and kind of running it over the finish line. Uh-oh, Nick.
Okay. Yeah, I can probably do it. Oh, I'm gone? Hello?
You were, but you're back. You were frozen seriously for a second.
Yeah, it's just saying I can probably do that. If there's already an example, it's pretty easy to turn the example into a template and etc.
All right, I can send that over to you.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, ideally,
I'll also
like
ping Jamie again, anyways. But yeah.
Cool.
I think for me, I haven't filed the issue yet because it doesn't make sense yet because I haven't landed moving the book. So the book is like in an in-between zone that does not have an issue tracker at the moment.
Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty much everything, I think. Does anyone have any like final kind of release candidate goals or anything?
So one thing that we haven't spoken about yet in this meeting is that stage 2 content of our page on the website is due on the release candidate date.
And can you remind us what stage 2 means?
So stage 1 is you have a draft that's like reasonable. Like the vast majority of the content is there, but maybe it's not the best or like not worded the best. I think one thing that I know Sandil has been working on that we're going to have to probably spend a fair amount of time doing in stage 2 is finding like case studies, user stories, and examples. And so stage 3 is like review with the team. But I think spending a little time like either helping people who are using this technology write case studies, writing case studies are on our own, or just otherwise soliciting them. Like that's not really like write code work, but it's like go talk to a bunch of people work. So
yeah, Highwin, Ivan, forget his last name, who wrote the Gutenberg WordPress format parser, is working on some. Hello.
yeah, you are doing a freeze situation, but only a little bit. So, but are we allowed to talk about Gutenberg publicly? I guess now.
I mean, he's tweeting about it, so we can. The thing is, it's not like quite shipping yet. Like, I think it's part of like this kind of like beta, and I don't know, but like he's writing a blog post about it, and I think there's opportunities for like helping the blog post be as impactful as it can be, and like helping provide feedback and things like that. And if you're interested in that, let me know and I can connect you. And then too, like it'll just be like another good thing we can point to. I think once the blog posts are out there, I think it doesn't make sense to point to like a GitHub project and say, look, they used Rust and WebAssembly, but like there needs to be that kind of like digesting in the form of like a blog post and like, kind of something that tells a story.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. And if we get like a pull quote or something. If you can hear us, Nick, you're frozen again. You're back though.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I kind of missed the thing that you said before I froze.
Oh, I said pull quote.
Okay. All right. So basically, we should be shooting for stage 2 content for the website.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now we have these kind of like higher level goals. I'd like to ask each person who's in charge of their little sub goal here to make sure that there are issues on file for these things, or like break these things down into smaller issues would be really useful, so that there isn't like one person who's like, I'm doing the whole like WebSys, like that's me, and then it's like no one else can help because it's too coarse grained. So like I don't know if that means like filing milestones or like individual issues, but please make sure that everything is tagged with the label Rust 2018 release candidate, and then it will automatically show up in our search and everything. And
I have one question on that, which is, so for the release candidate, we talked about like polishing 0.6. Like, should I mark like every issue for 050, 060, and then file issues that guess what we would want? I don't know. Because a lot of it's...
Is it possible to label a milestone in GitHub?
No, not that I can tell. Maybe there is. I don't know. There's lots I don't know, but I have not seen that. And I love labeling stuff, so...
Yeah. Aside, I'm just like so disappointed with GitHub issues and like milestones and everything. It's like there's like issues, milestones, projects, like some can be across repos, some can't. Like all I really want is to be able to say that like one issue is blocked by another issue, and then like I can build milestones by just having an issue that all it is blocked by a ton of stuff. Like, why is it so difficult? But I digress. So I think you're very good about like doing milestones, actually. So I think like if we just say that like this is the milestone that we're going to do, and then you manage the milestone yourself, like for the issues, then that's like perfect. That's fine.
Okay. I'm totally happy to do that.
Yeah. Then please do. Just for like a lot of the other projects, they're kind of just like spread across, and there aren't like as like unified of a thing. the labels of issues are a little easier because we can aggregate them in one place.
Yeah, I think one of the issues I was running into was like in thinking about the 2018 Rust edition, like anytime someone files like a bug that is true in WASMPack, there is a truth to it actually being blocking for the Rust 2018 edition. But then when we do check-ins, everyone's like, there's 20 issues. And I'm like, yeah, that's because there's like tiny bugs that we need to fix that are just labeled as that. So maybe I won't do that anymore. Because I don't know if it's like giving an honest representation of what's going on. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's like more of a situation where like they should adjust their expectations, where like the way that we're working is just not like the same.
Yeah. Anyways, if how I am labeling the edition issues is like weird, I'm happy to change it, but I'm like finding that it doesn't work with the milestone stuff because a lot of stuff's dependent on other stuff.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Like if there were like 5 different milestones, it would be difficult. But like since we can just say like, you know, this milestone, right? Like
I try to only keep 2 or 3 open at once. So
yeah, and because they're sequential, it's pretty easy as well, right? Okay, so that was pretty much everything. I think we should skip the 2018 goal status updates today, unless anyone has anything like that they really want to like shout out, because we just have run out of time almost. So there was one thing I wanted to mention, which I dropped in the news issue, which is that the WebAssembly, the W3C WebAssembly Working Group has approved a subcharter for debugging. And so this is going to cover like how to map Dwarf onto WebAssembly and like any kind of recommendations for like additions to Dwarf that we want to come up with, etc. So, you know, progress is kind of slow, but like this is really good, I think, long term. You know, maybe like a year from now kind of time frame. Did someone have something to say? Okay, audio glitch. What's up with the Node.js Summit stuff, Cindy?
Yep, I was just going through that project or repo or whatever, and I found that issue, and it is like presenting something on the Node.js Summit. So probably if we have something about WASM and WASM story in particular, it would be better that we submit something there and then present something over there. So that's just to get it up. Like yesterday I was discussing this with Ashley, and Ashley was like, okay, put it in the group, we'll discuss it tomorrow. So just put it over there to get some feedback, and if anybody's interested can go and submit a session over there.
Is there anyone who is planning on going to the summit already, or who's like involved in this community?
I'm explicitly not going.
Yeah.
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 But I do know that Lynn went to the one in Berlin, and that there have been pretty in-depth conversations about WebAssembly, and it's not a horrible idea to have some sort of presence where we maybe could talk about this there, because it's also a good spot to learn about the Node WebAssembly integration work.
Yeah.
I don't know who would be interested in doing it. I don't even know if I'm available. Steve might want to do it.
Yeah. If he is interested, that would be awesome. I don't want to like tell anyone they have to figure out a way to go or anything like that. But like if people are already involved in that community, already interested, it'd be great to also have a representative for our stuff.
Yeah. They have a travel fund, which is like pretty good. We should probably reach out to Lynn and see if she was planning on being there anyways.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to talk about with the group? Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone, for coming to this meeting, and I will see you around the internet and other places. Bye.
Bye.